Hi, my name's Keith Cooper of Northlight Images. In this video I'm going to try and show in a video some aspects of why and how you might use a specialist light for viewing prints, for testing prints to see whether they're okay or not. Now, because of the color temperatures and various mix of things I'm doing here, I'm going to be changing some of the parameters of the video editing whilst I shoot different parts of it to try and show things. But remember that what you will see actually watching something like this will be different because your eyesight adapts to different lighting color temperatures. So the one I'm going to look at is this, the Ilford Ilfolux Mark 1. Now, this Ilford, a name I know well from back in the 1970s when I first had a go at doing black and white photography. This is not the same Ilford. The name Ilford has gone through lots of buyouts, sales, all kinds of things. It's the Ilford brand. So this is, it's the same lettering, but I have to remind myself that this is not the same Ilford I was dealing with back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Things have changed. Now, this is entirely digital. The actual device itself is a flexible stand, and it has a diffuse light source, LED based light source here in the top here. Now you can, rather than using the desk stand here, comes with this, doesn't come with a power supply. It's a USB powered device, so I've got it plugged into this laptop here. It takes a reasonable amount of current, so you might want to use an external USB power supply. It's got a USB-A connector. I'd prefer it if the cable was a little bit longer for general use. You may find that you need an extension on it as well. It is literally running from here to here, runs up through this. It's flexible joints, so you can put this anywhere you like. The stand is relatively heavy, but if you try and extend it out too far, it will tip over, so you would need a weight on it. However, if you're going to have it in one place, you might want to use, rather than the stand here, there's a desk clamp comes with it, so you can attach it to the edge of your desk and have your light set up like that. Now, at the moment, I have got a light source over here, which I've dimmed slightly compared to my normal usage. That is set for a colour temperature of 4200K. Now, colour temperatures is effectively how cool or warm things are. So what we've got here, and I've got several of these colour checker cards dotted about the place for when I edit this video to try and emphasise some of the changes I'm talking about here, because they won't be very obvious changes to me here, but I'm hoping they'll be more so on the video. So there we go, Ilford Ilfolux. This one is lent me by Dupli here in the UK, in Leicester. I'll put some links to it when I've in the notes for the video, and you can have a look at it. What you get is literally what you see here, and a simple leaflet explaining it. Now, how have I got these? You notice I've got two monitors and a test image here. This is my standard test image I use all over this place. And this monitor, this is a BenQ monitor, it's hardware calibrated to 4000K. Now 4000K is a very low color temperature that you wouldn't normally use for editing, but I use it because it matches the lighting. Now I've got some LED lighting at the top here, which is nominally 4K. The lamps that are in it, they're just ordinary lamps in some small desk lamps on some shelves at the top up here. Now this is set to 4000. This is 4200. This might look a little warmish once I've edited everything. This iMac over here is set to the default setting, which is 6500. Now, 6500 is what I might normally consider editing at. Now, there are arguments that you should perhaps edit at a slightly warmer temperature if you're going to be doing printing, but I've looked at monitor settings and things. Really, I've left this one over here to show you what a difference there is between 6500 and the roughly 4000 light we've got round here. And that's what's lighting this. And there's a test image, and I'm going to hope that this one matches this relatively well. I can't remember. apart from telling me the paper, this doesn't actually tell me which printer I printed this one on. Usually I write it on them. But anyway, some other test images here, some images I've got for things. And as I say, the colour checker. These are the video versions. This is for the normal photography colour checker that I use. So the device itself has a touch screen. I'm going to put it on, and I've got it set to 4000 here. Now, one of the things to be careful of when you look at lighting sources, you will see particularly LED lighting that says, oh, it has a CRI of, so many 90 something. Now, in general, you want CRI's colour rendition index of over 90, but it doesn't tell the whole story because you can have a quite good quality light source which is not spectrally even, so it may have spikes in it. This always was a problem with some fluorescent tubes and things like that, and older types of of lighting systems. But this one here is nominally 4000. It's set to little light on there. Now, if I look at the details for the particular lamp here, this one is better than many that I've looked at, and I've got a few of them. I'll put some links on the Northlight Images site to the stuff I've done there in the past, and you can have a look at some of the other lighting sources I've looked at over the years. But this one is better than many because it actually has in the specs a much more detailed colour rendition chart, and it tells you what the CRI and what the various values are for different colours. Now, I'll also put a link to how I'm able to create tests like this myself using an I1 spectrophotometer. Involves kludging things with a few bits of software and some other stuff, but it is possible if you have a basic, even an old I1 spectrophotometer. I don't think it works so well with a colour monkey and its derivatives, but certainly it is possible to produce charts like this. And I'll put a link to that in the notes. It's not complicated, but it is a bit of a procedure to go through. But suffice to say, this tells you how good the rendering is at different colours. And I can see from it that a weak area in this is generally deep blues. This is a problem with some sorts of lighting in that this emits no UV. So this is not, and also in infrared, there's not much. So it is a limited spectral response we've got. So anyway, that is set to 4000. Now, I've got several lighting levels. Now, I'm just going to hope that's not going to burn this out too much on the video. Take it down and take it down to its minimum. 5 levels, so that's about mid there. I can switch it on, switch it off, just touch control there, and that does that. In terms of changing the colour temperature, what we've got here, this is currently at 4000. So hopefully at 4000 that should look okay. Now, as should other images I've got here that I've got put out. But this goes down as low as 3000. Why would I want to go to 3000? Take it 5, 6, there we go to 3000. Now, that should come out decidedly warm. That will give you a rough indication of how a print will look under tungsten lighting. Now, the important thing here is I look at this, and because my eyesight is adapted to the roughly 4000K lighting that we've got here in this area of the office, this looks tremendously warm to me. However, if I was in a room that was lit with tungsten lighting, this would actually look perfectly normal. Your eyesight adapts that quickly. So that's at 3000. If I just take it up, that's at 4000, which, as I said, I'm hoping, and I'll realise this once I get round to editing the video, that 4000, how good it is. Now let's take it up to 5000. Now, 5000 is a common editing point for commercial work, for print. It should look, if I set this to be white, this should look distinctly warm. The rest of the room should look distinctly warm in light. However, this is 6500, so this should still look quite blue. And if I take this up to 65, and I'll play around with the video a bit to get this white again. I'm going to hope that when I adjust the video and this is white, that now looks quite reasonable in this lighting. And already the effect of having this lighting here on my eyesight adapting is while I'm looking here, if I look up at that screen looks perfectly reasonable. This one, if I look from here up to here, this one looks tremendously warm, and you wouldn't do it. But as I said, this one is set up for showing on video, which I've got another video looking at setup, monitor setup and things like that. So why does it matter? The real thing about looking at prints is that you look at them ideally under conditions that match where you're going to be showing your lights, showing your prints, under what lighting they have. So that 6500, that is very bluey white. There is little lighting you will find at that color temperature. Closer to daylight and to daylight lighting would be the 5000 setting. So take that back up. We'll take that to 5000. Now, if I'm looking at this actually does, my eyesight adapts to it, and it looks very white, looks fine. If I glance up at the screen over there, the screen over there looks too blue. If I glance to this one looks warm. So let's say we're trying to edit on a screen like this, but we're going to be viewing our prints at 5000. Does that mean that one of them will always look wrong? Well, I've actually got a proper professional lighting stand and things over on another desk over here, which has a special fluorescent tube and stuff in it. And that is at around about 5000. If I'm using that, I don't edit at 5000. I sometimes edit at 55 or 6000 just because I find it matches. I prefer how it looks. Now, if you're doing this in a commercial setup, if you're doing this in a graphic design studio, you want a little bit more precision than this, oh, it looks okay sort of stuff. But for me, even for doing my prints commercially, it looks okay trumps all the necessary setting up brightnesses and things. Now, I've got this one here. Now, it turns out that our visual system, the way it adapts to different colours, is quite powerful in its adaptation. So if I'm looking at a screen here, so if I'm just looking at this warm screen here, after a while, because it matches the lighting in the room here, and if I put this back to 4000, now this is 4000, this is 4000, this suddenly to me doesn't look anywhere near so warm as it did. I can still tell it's not optimal, it's not quite right, but as I said, 4000, I've set this one specifically just for video use, for showing that. This one here just looks horrendous. It's so bluey grey from here in compared to the room here. What can I use for actual viewing? Well, the point is really your eyesight adapts to the brightest white that you're looking at and makes that white. So when I'm looking at this from here, this is white. There's no colour tinge to it. This one works. I'm looking at this colour checker card. That looks fine. All of this looks fine. There might be a slight pinkish tinge, I'm not sure, but it's pretty close. Now, in physically moving my head to compare something, your eyesight, your visual system resets its white balance. The absolute worst way to check your prints is to hold them up against a screen. The difference in brightness, the difference in colour temperature, it will look wrong. So never ever compare prints just looking like that. If you want to compare, say, that print and this print, you need to look carefully. I need to get just a view of that, and ideally the lighting is slightly cooler than this, or a higher colour temperature than this. And then I look down to this. Now, this is so far away from the lighting in here that there is no way this looks like that. The lighting in here is such that if I look at these two here, that is a really good match. Even that's because, remember, I've set this up almost as a bit of a fix to make sure this works. But in here, in the lighting levels, I've got everything. That's the brightness of this screen, the lighting levels here. That looks really good. If I put it under here, it's bright enough for me to see sharp detail, and it's bright enough for me to evaluate a print. How do I know this is right? It's right when it looks right. Now, this particular image I've got downloadable, and I put a link to it on the Northlight Images site, and the downloads area has got lots of explanations about what all these little bits of the test image mean, how you use them. So I'm using that. That looks great. That's fine. This particular image here, and let's light it in the 4200 of that. This particular image, view taken in Wyoming, is one I use to explain black and white photography. So I've got this color image, and here are the color channels printed, the individual color channels printed. So that's the red channel. We've got that one's a mix. There's the default black and white. There's the green channel, and there's the blue channel. I use this for explaining how black and white works. Now, under this looks lovely and neutral. In fact, yeah, that looks pretty neutral as well. Having viewing lighting like this is not some panacea. You've got to use it with a degree of understanding. So you've got to appreciate that I'm looking at an image here, and I'm looking at this image and I'm going, is this a good print? I'm looking for things like unevenness, colours, banding, stuff like that. I am not looking for a precise match to one of these screens, because this is a print, these are screens. You never ever can get a match. Now, soft proofing can be a tool which you can use for some degree of help in this, and I've covered this in quite a lot of other videos. Got an entire playlist covering colour management aspects. But when I look at this, that looks really good. That is absolutely fine. Sort of things I notice, because this is a nice strong light, I can see that the surface of this print has got tiny scratches on it. That's because it's just been chucked in a pile of prints and I've not taken proper care of it. But if it came out of the printer and I was seeing marks like that, I'd know there might be something wrong with the choice of paper or something like that. So a light like this gives you the opportunity for more consistency in your viewing. That's what it's there for. It is not this will be an absolute check, and if I view this under this light, I will get an exact match with the screen. That ain't going to happen. This just makes it more likely. Because from my point of view, colour management is not about some spurious notion of perfect or even accurate colour. It is about getting colour right first time more often. And when things don't look right, it helps you find out what's wrong. Now, it's actually rather a nice light. It's quite a nice even light, covers an area. One other bit, I notice this brown desktop that I'm using here. If you are setting things up for this, do not use something like a very strong, the wood here has very strong colours. Do not use something like this. Use either some grey paper or something awesome. Something without strong colour, because the strong colours around will influence your eyesight. It can be quite subtle changes, but there's no reason why, if I'm using this at 6500, I can't just pop that up to 6500. And now I can see this has a cooler look to it. The adaptation doesn't make it look exactly the same, but I can see it in a different light. Now, there is no UV in this, is another thing. So do remember that if you're using papers with optical brighteners in. And there is sometimes nothing can beat just taking your print to a window and seeing it with daylight, or even having a look outside. But do remember, if your print looks excellent outside and it looks good indoors, then I'm assuming you're going to be doing your print for outdoors, because think about the lighting where you're actually going to go. So hence the ability to change things here. Take that back to 4000. Now, If you've got any questions, let me know. I will be doing, put some of the details of this, the specs and things, in a short written article as well. But really, I wanted to dispel some of the myths that having a viewing lamp somehow magically makes your prints match your screen. They can look better, but you need to know what you're doing, and it depends on your lighting around, your setup of your screen, your calibration, all the things like that. This is a step on the way. Nice bit of kit. It's not a really cheap bit of kit, but it is nice. Build is fine, and I say, if you're going to use it permanently on your desk, then rather than the top there, maybe that. But you might want to get yourself an external power supply, as I say, for it, but it works very well. Anyway, I hope that's been of interest. As I said, if you've got any questions, let me know. Please do subscribe to the channel, appreciate it. I'm going to be trying to look at more bits of kit like this, not only the techie bits of what they do, but why you use them and what it achieves and how that can help you produce better prints, which is one of the things this is for. So thanks for watching, and bye.